Mr. Lewis, Mr. Meyer, Mrs. Barra, Ms. Fletcher Mickens, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Washington, Mr. Crawford, Mrs. Urso, Mrs. Dugas. Mr. President, you have a quorum.
All right. Uh, my name is Courtney Batt. Seen y'all before. Nice to meet you. I would just like to speak to everyone who doesn't understand what the adoption of consent agenda is. By definition, it allows the board to approve all of the items together without discussion or individual motions. It's meant for routine correspondence that requires no action or only minor changes in policy and procedure. Transparency and accountability are the foundations of a successful consent agenda. We're talking about the job description of administrators, and we're addressing the budget at some point today. Those aren't minor. Do you all still unanimously agree to adopt this consent agenda? Are y'all still going to go forward unanimously and adopt the consent agenda, is my question. Y'all believe so? Okay. And under that circumstances, I ask that you please remain utterly transparent, or we have to hold you accountable for your decision unanimously. And that's just what I wanted the parents to understand with adoption. That means y'all can just speed up the process under what y'all deem can be fixed quickly. And that's all I had to say.
Thank you, Mr. President. Super excited now that we actually hired Mrs. Margaret, and one of her tasks was to create an Assumption Parish School District Special Education Handbook. So what you have in front of you right now is a handbook that we created to service our special education students, but also to inform our teachers and our administrators how to address and how to work with special education students. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Margaret. She have a brief presentation for you. Ms. Margaret.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, board members. Thank you for allowing me to come before you today. Like Mr. Bartholomew said, we put together a pretty comprehensive special ed handbook. It includes our framework. It also includes our 504 compliancy discipline for students with disabilities, and also 504, and some forms there. Even though we're electronic with a lot of the forms, I put them here because sometimes it's easier to see a copy to know what you're going to look for until you get familiar with it. So everyone is familiar that our district started a strategic plan earlier this year, and we have 6 of those priorities in that plan that aligns with this whole special ed framework and the handbook and contents within. So just as a little reminder, our first strategic priority is strengthening instruction. And you'll see as you comb through this handbook that we in the special ed department are also a part of that, and we are planning and have been working with our leaders in our school to build their capacity instructional leadership-wise. We're also training our teachers on lesson prep and strategies to be able to intervene and remediate our students. With strategic priority number 2, cultivating a safe, engaging, and inclusive culture, we are definitely communicating those behavior expectations for the adults and our students. And we're also, you'll see throughout, that we're trying to provide alternatives to suspensions for our students with disabilities. Number 3, provide individualized academic support to meet diverse needs. Definitely working in the vein of differentiating our instruction and also how we respond to different behaviors. Strategic priority number 4, develop meaningful and authentic family and community partnerships. One of the big buckets that you will see as you comb through that first section, which is the academic and operation framework for special ed, is where we are engaging our families, which is extremely important for our culture and climate in our schools. Strategic priority number 5, attracting, developing, and retaining a diverse and talented team. We all know how important it is to provide support on all levels for our educators. So we are definitely providing that support with our teachers who deal with our students with diverse needs in all areas. And number 6, develop, implement, and measure progress towards an equity-focused vision. We're definitely aligning our special ed budget to make sure that we create that equity-focused vision. So right here, and you also have a copy of this in your framework, in your binder, this is our special education framework. This framework is special to me because it encompasses all areas that we need to focus on, not only for our special ed students, but our regular ed students alike. So in the dark blue, those are our outside influencers. And in the orange and the light blue, those are our inside influencers. And right in the middle, the person at the desk, that's our students. So all of those things are impacting our student achievement. And as you can see on the right at the top, academics and instruction, you see we are utilizing Tier 1 curriculum and supports. And then our students with disabilities have either an IEP or an IAP, we fall down into data-driven decision-making. And that is making sure that we use our assessment and all pieces of data that we have. Moving over, professional development is extremely important because things change so fast. And we need to make sure that our teachers are aware of all of the intervention and remediation current strategies. And that's for academics and behavior. And we can't forget how important our leadership, our teachers, and our support teams are, because they definitely make up the equation when it comes down to all of these buckets. And then in the top part, our culture and climate, family awareness, and involvement. We like to say engage, but we need to be involved. And those things that are in the middle, they kind of cross between both of those areas. So what you'll also find as you flip through the framework, we have 4 big strategic focus areas that are going to help us bring this to fruition. And those focus areas, they're going to be at the top and bolded. They are strengthening core instruction, ensuring that all students learn, focusing on results, and our culture and climate piece. So just to share with you briefly, like I said, in your framework, we have outlined the goals, we have lined the expectations for our special ed curriculum specialists and our pupil appraisal team. And we have also outlined what's going to happen at the school in this framework. So these are just some of our goals for 2021-2022. As I mentioned earlier, we are trying to develop and implement measurable IEPs and IAP goals and objectives so that our students know what they're working for and our teachers know what they're working towards getting our students to. In our data piece, we want to use the data to inform instruction so that we know what to do when students learn, because we want to bring them higher, and what to do when students don't learn, how to get them where they need to be. Professional development is always having that cyclical piece where we are involving our teachers in learning as well to keep them up with the changes and the updates that we have going on. And if you are familiar with special ed law, it changes at the drop of a hat. So we have to stay on top of that. Family engagement, bringing in that piece also, strengthening our community engagement, and making sure that we enhance and support those relationships for our students with disabilities. Also in that framework, we have an implementation guideline, and I know everybody is familiar with Ida. She kind of came in and messed up everything for us. So we have started to review our long-range plans to put some more dates in there to be able to start all over again. So we started school and then we started school again. But inside of our implementation, we have several activities here, and it follows the same buckets where it is with our instruction. We're going to start our school site visits, and we've already been in the schools, but we're going to go in with a more strategic focus on what we're looking for. So we'll have those monitoring tools that the state uses to make sure that we're on top of what we need to be on top of so that if we are monitored, we're not worried about anything. In our data, all of our special ed teachers at the beginning in August when I held the first special ed meeting received a data binder specific to their students that they are case managers for, and we reviewed the data and how they could utilize the data to inform instructions going forward. Professional development, we plan to meet with the special ed teachers on our half days, but of course, we're not having our half days between now and December, so I have been approved to have those in the afternoons after school, and we will be paying the teachers a stipend to come to do professional development. Our family engagement, this is my plan. I didn't want to change it. Since Ida came, it's a little rigorous. But we plan to do 3 family nights this year and incorporate our special ed teachers in those family nights. And I hope I get this right. We want to do one up the bayou, right? One in the middle and one down the bayou. So hopefully, I'm learning. I had it backwards for a little while. So hopefully we can do that. And we also want to introduce some special ed topics, some special topic meetings. I've asked a lot of my special ed teachers and staff. I would like to do it not in a school setting because some parents don't always want to come to the school. Maybe some local business or something, where we can have special topics like making relationships a priority, transitional tips for parents, what to do from preschool to primary, from primary to middle, middle to high, and high to post-secondary education. So just some great special topics, tips to bring to our parents. So we've had a few updates, just looking through things and trying to make things easier for our teachers and our administrators, and ultimately better for our students. So just to share with you a few changes in our 504 procedures, we have outlined I am definitely the main primary contact, but I do have 2 special ladies that I've been blessed with that work very close with me. So we have decided to make one of them over 504 and one specifically over special ed IEPs and IAPs. So they're the front line. So if someone can't get in touch with me, they always have that go-to person. And we work so close together that if they don't know, they know we're going to get together and we're going to work it out. So we have identified that district 504 coordinator. In your 504, section 504 section, as you come through it, you'll see there are days now. There are time limits for the schools to respond to the needs of the children and the parents. Where before it was a little vague, if a parent brought in an outside evaluation or something, now there are times, there are days, and it's from 10 to 30 to 60 days, depending on the situation, that they have to respond. All of our 504 and special ed information is uploaded to Google. It's on Google, so it's at the fingertips of every school, and it's germane to each school. So everybody's not looking at everybody's information. Discipline procedures for students with disabilities. We have defined the IEP team and who should be at every meeting as it relates to an IEP committee meeting. We have also clarified the discipline infraction and aligned it to the Assumption Parish Code of Conduct, which is also one of your tabs that you have here, and we have made it where it is an infraction. It matches the leveled infractions of the Code of Conduct. In our share drive, that is another update that I mentioned earlier. Each school has a folder specific to special ed or 504. Whoever handles whichever area, each teacher has a folder within a folder so that they can upload their information. Our special ed monitoring that I mentioned earlier, we will start doing our instructional walkthroughs by the end of this month. I want to wait until we have the principals meeting so that I can give them a rubric of what we're going to be looking for. It's not anything new. We just want to make sure that we're on top of things. We also have our data binders, like I mentioned earlier. We have a process to review our IEPs and make sure that progress reports go out. So I've shared with you just a little bit of what we have in this binder. Of course, you have some other sections in here about seclusion and restraint. I want you to know that it is a pleasure diving into the data and the work of the special ed department in Assumption Parish as a whole. And just to recap a little bit about what I talked about, as you go through, make sure that you pay close attention to those areas where we are trying to strengthen our core instruction, making sure that teachers have what they need. We are focusing on our students every day, every student, every day. And we are data and results driven. Any questions? All right. Enjoy your binders. Oh, sure. Sure. It does. That's a great question, Ms. Dugas, and I have been working diligently in that vein. We are definitely trying to ensure as I get those in, I check on them. But one of the things that I'm trying to do this year, well, I will do this year, and I have shared it with my team, PAC, and the curriculum facilitators, we're going to make all the IEPs due in May. So everybody's going to get a new IEP done in May. Whatever grade they're going to, it'll have that corresponding grade. So they don't have to worry about redoing an IEP in the beginning of school. It's very, very busy in August and September. So what we have right now is IEPs only last for 1 year, and they have to be updated. Services should never stop. They should never stop. The teachers, the case managers should be giving those teachers in the classroom a copy of accommodations by day 2. We will make sure that that happens next August. But as I get those calls, I dig deep into it. They should. Yes, ma'am. There's no reason for it. You're welcome. Mhm. Mhm. Correct. Correct. The reason for that, several years ago, when I was a principal, our special ed department decided to make them all due in April and May. And the rationale for that was because that's testing time. Things are slower because kids are in their testing. And you can have that time to focus on getting the IEP in. So when August comes, you can hit the ground running. You don't have to worry about that part of the paperwork. But anytime a parent, a teacher, an administrator, anybody feels that the IEP needs to be amended for one reason or another, we hold another meeting. Yes. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Margaret. Yeah, I have Mr. Josh. He's going to come up and give us an update on our access points and additional information as it relates to our technology services.
Hey, so the last time I gave y'all an update, we were waiting on funding approval for the access points. Since then, we have received the funding approval, actually placed the order for all the networking equipment, and was giving an initial delivery time frame of December. I got an update today, and the date they gave me was next week for the ship date. So that could fluctuate, but I'm very optimistic that by the end of October, we'll have all the equipment. We did get some of the equipment in, some smaller switches that we needed in Bayou Lewis. As soon as they came in, we went and installed them. So they're there waiting for the access points when we get them in. We got the other switches that are needed for the rest of the access points, just waiting for the access points to arrive. We have been having issues reported, which is expected, as the classrooms are using the Chromebooks every day. We deal with those on a case-by-case basis as best we can with like some older access points that we temporarily put in classrooms, and we seem to kind of squash those out as they come up. So we just band-aiding it until the access points arrive and every classroom has one. So hopefully by Thanksgiving, everything's installed and we're good to go. We did apply for some ECF, the Emergency Connectivity Fund, in round one, which at that time we didn't know there would be a round two. So we essentially applied for our Chromebook cycle update, which totaled a little over $200,000. We got approved for that, and we're in the process of ordering it. After that, they opened a round two of funding, which around that time, Mr. B had requested finding out what it would cost to buy additional Chromebooks for the younger kids. Because our plan was third, fourth grade was where the cutoff was. So I got that number, we counted the kids, we applied for round two of funding, which we will hear about approval within the next 2 weeks, because the government has to, part of the guidelines of the ECF funds is they can't hold the paperwork for forever. So that round of funding ends next week. So we should hear yay or nay, which most likely will be yay, to order additional Chromebooks for the younger children. We do have some, yes.
Yes, any student that needed a Chromebook in grades 3 through 12, we have those Chromebooks. We have a buffer just in case we have more students needing Chromebooks. So we did have enough to supply any student who enrolled in our district. As a result of Hurricane Ida, we had enough Chromebooks to supply those students. We talking, and Ms. Rachel could chime in a bit. We talked about the lower grades, but we were looking at the actual the iPads for the younger kids, because we were looking at possibly the keyboard and things like that being more challenging, and the kids already were using the iPads in the schools. So that's what's kind of like the decision on the lower grades, but we are ordering for the lower grades now. So everyone in our district will have Chromebooks as soon as those funds come in, and we're going to order those.
It was never really a lack of funding that held us back on the lower grade level. It was trying to decide what type of device to purchase. No, we never did.
Third grade. We start in 3rd through 12.
3rd through 12.
And we had the other devices for the babies. But we're now ordering the Chromebooks for the younger kids.
Thank you.
And just for clarity, Ms. Dow, we had enough Chromebooks, but they were originally purchased for the grades 3 through 12. It was the buffer that we could have used, but we wanted to make sure we had the right devices in those classes. We did have enough, yeah.
I didn't know I had to be as loud as him. Sorry. Uh, my first question is, if this is about our administrators, where are they? This is about our administrators, Form 36, to change their job description, correct? Presented by, supposed to be presented by Shannon Claymore. Oh, okay. Again. Okay. So that's no transparency again. We had no idea. I had no idea, and trust me, I looked close. Uh, I wanted to know, why was this being done? Is this because we have pending lawsuit, or is this to prevent another one? Um, I wanted to know, like, for you have domain 2 school culture under this, okay? Right? Culture. So if you go to greatschools.org, Pier Park, which is 2 schools combined, is rated 9 out of 10. Belrose is 2 out of 10 and 3 out of 10. Okay? The statistics, this is a fact, this isn't derogatory or negative. I have my sources. 86% of Belrose Middle is African American students. 93% of the enrolled are minorities. 79% are economically disadvantaged. That's for Belrose. In Pier Park, 96% are Caucasian, only 3% is minority, and 35% is economically disadvantaged compared to 79% from Belrose, okay? You know what that is? That surpasses local, state, that's on a federal level. Brown versus the Board of Education. That is modern day segregation, because that Pier Park school is, I believe, an A school the last time it was reported, and Belrose Middle and Belrose Primary is D&F schools, and I believe that's correct, right? Okay, and I mean, it's in the most respectful way. That's unconstitutional. So you're not going against Leland Falcon. You're not going against the state superintendent. You're going against what's in our Constitution. Brown versus the Board of Education. So it's either just a strange coincidence that one school gets serviced so well and the other just gets missed, or there's some inequities right here, some unfairness. I'm not okay with that. And honestly, that's one of the main reasons I came here tonight, because that changes people's lives, their futures, and this has been going on for decades. Decades. So, oh yeah, and if I had a black son, Miss Dugas, I would not send them to be a part. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I would not send my child there. No, ma'am, I do. I consulted with people that y'all offered that to. And you can't speak while I speak respectfully. You can add some more time to me. No, you look up your handbook whenever someone's making a public comment. Okay. And you did it too. Okay, so in a part of this, you want your administrators to better your teachers so they can take on additional responsibilities, AKA do better at your job so you could do more of ours. No wonder we can't find, retain, or find an ex-employee or a retired employee that has much, that was not 5 minutes, sir, that has much good to say about working for Assumption Parish School District. I'm done now.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? My name is Nikki Patterson. I am a former educator in Assumption Parish School System, and I'm a current homeschool parent. Can y'all hear me now? Good. All right. Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening. My name is Nikki Patterson. I am a former educator with Assumption Parish School System with over 10 years of experience, and I'm a current homeschool parent. I am speaking on the job description for principals because for the last 3 weeks, I have been emailing my son's principal trying to get him back into the Assumption Parish School System. For 3 weeks, I have emailed my board member, Mr. Honoré Lewis, as well as the superintendent, and I have not received a response. I'm not sure if you all understand what's going on or have even heard about this situation. For starters, I was asked to submit a registration packet. That registration packet was given to me probably the week of September 20th, and I returned it that same week. From that point forward, I have been asked to go and take tests. My son sat for 2 days of tests, 3 hours each day. The main complaint is because my son is a homeschool student who has now received one-to-one education, and he's 9 years old, and he's in the 7th grade. The school system, and the reason I'm saying it under the principal, because if we're looking for leadership, if we're asking what the job description is, does it include accountability, transparency? Because not only were these gentlemen included in the emails, but my son's principal was included in email, and I did not receive a response from her. So at this point in time, it's now going on 3 weeks, and my son is still not back in the public school system, even though he's taken the test, which in the beginning I asked, were they placement tests or diagnostic tests? I received no response. He passed the test according to when I spoke to Mr. Bartholomew. There are some concerns because he's 9 years old and his appropriate grade will be 4th grade instead of 7th. I've submitted emails every day requesting more information, requesting a placement. What's the next step? I have not only put Mr. John Bartholomew, Mr. Honoré Lewis, your instructional supervisor, the student services supervisor. I've also included the Bessie board. I've also included the state superintendent, Mr. Cade Bromley. I've included anyone and everyone. I'm not sure if it came before this board, but my son is still sitting outside of school even though we've done everything that we've been asked to do. So at this point in time, when we're looking at job descriptions, does it include accountability? Does it include transparency? Does it include student success? What's the vision for student success? Because if we understand that black students are not graduating at the same rate as white students in this district, and parents take it upon themselves to make sure that their children get a good education, then why are we being penalized? If it goes in accordance with what the state has given us, I've submitted documentation for the last 2 years of homeschooling to the state. The state is now saying, well, that's your recommendation that your child is in 7th grade. It's not ours. But I've received paperwork that this district has also received. So there's paperwork stating that my son is in 7th grade, but now we're not upholding it because he's 9 years old. That in and itself needs to be looked at when we're looking at job descriptions, not only for board members, superintendent, but also for principals. Thank you.
Mr. Honoré, just a point of clarity, Ms. Patterson, you did receive information of the results of that test, and you did receive information as far as the outcome, as far as your options. So that happened on October the 1st. And I just wanted to clear that up because you did receive that information.
The
If you give me the permission to speak freely, I can speak on it. Your options were, because he did not meet the standards for 7th grade, he was to be placed in 4th grade, which is age appropriate, or you had the option allow us to give him the sixth grade test to see if he qualifies for sixth grade. So that option, that was actually given to you on October 1st. And also before that, your son was you was asked to enroll your kid in our system because we did not want him to stay out of the school system, but you had to enroll him in fourth grade while we were going to administer those tests. So I just wanted to just clarify that.
Okay. So when we began this process, my recommendation was that he take the sixth grade test because I had completed the sixth grade standards. At that point in time, that option was rejected, and you said that he would take the seventh grade placement test or diagnostic test. The diagnostic test diagnoses areas that he needs strengths and weaknesses in. A placement test tells you where he's going to be placed. At no point in time when he took a seventh grade test and he's placing 9 out of 11 for vocabulary, 19 out of 25 for reading comprehension, 50%, and he took a Form B, which is mid seventh grade test, and he performed at that point. I've asked for clarification as far as what's pass and fail, and I have not received any of that. So when you say he did not meet the standards, where's that documentation stating that he did not meet the standards? I sent an email this morning. I received no response. I sent an email yesterday. I received no response. So to say that I received something on October 1st when there's 3 emails that are still sitting there with no response, that is a little misleading.
Well, I tell you what we can do. I have no problem at all meeting with you as well as several of our team members to explain exactly what you received, and we can explain that documentation to you. That's not a problem at
And
all.
on October 1st, I did request that, and that email was also left void. I asked who was part of the committee that submitted the scores for my son. I asked what the committee do. I asked you to respond. You never responded. So now to hear that I can meet with the board or the committee, there's a lot of misleading information. So that's why I say there's no transparency. There's no accountability when it comes down to things. I've been emailing for 3 weeks.
We can meet, that's not a problem, if you would like to discuss this further with the committee and discuss the results, but I just want to be clear that you did receive a copy of the results and
Scores.
the
There's
options as
nothing
far
that
as
says
placement. I just want to be clear, that's all. I didn't want
I
to.
received scores. There's no subcategories that says what those scores match. So it says 7 out of 9 vocabulary. What did it measure? Was it context clues? Was it meaning? There's nothing there. There are 7 different areas that the test said that could have been given. I sent a screenshot of it. I said, which of these areas were covered? You said that you were not at liberty to give me that information and that you could not give me more information on it. The committee has already spoken, and the 2 options that I had was to place my son in 4th grade because he's 9, or to take the 5th grade, not 6th grade, the 5th grade placement assessment. And I said if he scored so well on the 7th grade, why would I place my son in 4th grade? And why would I put him and allow him to sit for more testing when the recommendation from his mother, who is an educator, who has homeschooled him for the last 2 years, was to give him the 6th grade test? You dismissed that option, so now you're wanting him to sit for more tests, and I say he's already given 2 days at 6 hours each.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
we could discuss, that's not a problem, and I think there may be some I guess, information as it relates to the 7th grade test covers 6th grade standards. So if you give the 6th
For
grade
math,
test,
not for reading.
it covers
It's on.
5th grade standards. So I wanted to make sure that you had that option, so I just wanted to be clear. But
So,
we definitely could meet about it. Thank you. Miss Patterson?
Any other questions, comments on this policy? Hearing none, those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, motion carried. Next, paragraph B, approve, 2022 board meeting schedule, need a motion. Motion by Mr. Cooney, second by Mr. Robinson, comment,
So administrators are expected to be 240-day employees, and just about everybody else is 180 days, right? Am I right? Even the students, right? And y'all are okay with 21 days of meetings? I understand Easter and Christmas, but not Mardi Gras? So 21 days throughout the whole school year, y'all okay with meeting in the state our districts in? And y'all so confident you made a whole schedule about that. Why? Can somebody explain, why is 21 days sufficient in the state, our entire districts, and from pandemic to hurricane to not getting computers the first time we had the virtual option? Like, why, with upcoming issues, is 21 days sufficient for y'all? Because it's not for the rest of us. Anybody want to answer me?
So the comment was referencing policy 5B, that's school board meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the schedule that we put together. So you have to meet twice a month.
Right.
For instance,
Minimum.
we have a meeting month, that's what the schedule is.
Minimum. Minimum. Yeah. Oh yes. Absolutely. There's no transparency. There's not many people that's not in this room that can understand what y'all are doing, saying, and it's all over their heads. So yes, I would love for y'all to meet more so I can explain in layman terms and not like an auctioneer clearly what is actually happening in front of their faces. Yes, sir. That's what I would like. And that was all I had to say about that one. Thank you.
Any other question, comment? Hearing none, those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, motion carried. Next on the budget, received August 2021, sales and use tax and Brandon.
Good evening, everyone. The sales and use tax report for the month of August, we processed a total of 1,969 returns. Our total receipts was $1,096,126.52. 23% increase. The school board received $545,436.62. The 92 bond fund received $109,087.17. 7% delinquent rate, no audit revenues. Auto sales was $322,537.44. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next, paragraph, we authorize the superintendent to solicit request for proposal for agency assistance with early childhood community access / landscape leadership and early childhood business model and strategic training.
Good evening, everyone. I am very excited to come before you tonight requesting several RFPs. This is part of our expansion plan for early childhood. We have been blessed that the state has given us multiple grants to expand early childhood in Assumption Parish. One of the keys to being successful is that we support Type 3 centers as they embark on this new adventure with us. As you know, we recently converted to our only 2 daycares to become Type 3 centers, which means that they now provide Tier 1 curriculum for all of their children who attend their daycare. Their teachers are going to go through rigorous training so that they can provide adequate services for the children. And one of the best things about it is that they are now eligible to accept CCAP children. So that means that children in Assumption Parish can now have daycare with no cost to the parent.
Good.
We have 8 children already who have accepted or have been accepted by the state for CCAP, and we have many more applications. So it is very much exciting times. To be able to continue building and expanding, the State Department offered 2 main grants. This first proposal will be for an agency to work with our existing Type 3 centers or any potential Type 3 centers that would be interested to help them build a business model. Because once the grant money is gone, we need to be able to sustain ourselves. And so the goal is to hire an expert to be able to come in and do that. We are not picking the expert. We're simply saying what we need, and we're letting people apply to come and help us. So it's a fair process. And the funding source is the Community Building Supply Grant. It is not any money from Assumption Parish General Fund or any of our existing. It's brand-new funds. Yes, sir. Children? No, that's the beauty of it. You know, as long as we're able to expand and offer, then we can just keep taking children. I had a very exciting meeting this morning with our media consultant, Cody Blanchard. He's almost finished building our website. I had, you know, I'm getting old. So when I looked at the graphic that will represent our network, I just thought that I didn't really understand it, but he explained to me that it really caters to the younger generation parents. But the point I'm making is that the expansion is there are children, we're planning on being able to take them. The renovation project that we did at Napoleonville Primary and Libertyville Primary is now complete. We're actually setting up the rooms with the furniture. So as soon as that is done, we'll go through the process of getting the fire marshal to approve it, daycare license to approve it, and then we'll discuss with the central office what kind of memorandum of understanding we're going to put together to offer those to the daycare so that they can have children, more children come on campus. All right, I'm just going to kind of hang out right here because there's more. Oh, yes. Yes, and I mean, I know I'm supposed to stay on topic, but y'all, I got invited to another webinar today, and there's another huge initiative going on, so it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, and the work that Ms. Rachel is doing is also connected to our initiatives because K2 this year is one of our focus points. So we're definitely pouring a lot into our K2 portion of our curriculum, our teachers, any type of professional development, our leaders. So definitely want to thank Ms. Rachel and Ms. Brittany for that. So thank you for that.
Y'all want me to explain that one? So across, oh, I'm sorry. Across the state of Louisiana, there is a shortage of workforce, especially in early childhood. So parents are wanting to put their children in quality daycares, but the quality daycares don't have enough staff to adequately support the need of the children. So there is an initiative to develop a quality workforce, and it's very interesting because it's the same concept that we're trying to do with Grow Our Own with our teachers. The state is recommending that we grow our own with an early childhood workforce. So this initiative would be to see, you know, what's the need and what can we do to support people to get the ancillary certificates, get the child development credentials, and have them ready to be in our workforce. So the independent licensing specialist is along the same lines of making sure that the new daycares are in complete compliance with everything. If we would have like a church that would want to consider opening up a daycare, they're not familiar with what's required for a type 3 center. So this licensing specialist would be available to help. It's not necessarily for the school board, but it's to help the community with anyone that would need assistance. premises, I always go back to that board meeting that we had at Belrose Primary when I showed y'all the visual of our vision of expanding the early childhood program in Assumption Parish. And it's just so exciting that it's actually happening for us. So needless to say, to support everything, we need someone else to help. So this coordinator just be a consultant. It would not be a permanent employee. So when the money's gone, the position's gone. But it would be a contract service to just really kickstart us to make sure that all of the things that I previously spoke about was being done to the best that it could be done.
Good evening. I'm representing CJ Southlock Consulting Engineers. As in regards to the Labradorville Middle School gymnasium roof replacement, materials were delivered middle of last week, put on site as far as shingles, vapor barrier paper, aluminum drip eaves, all materials needed for that particular job was on site. As of the 4th of this week, which was, I think, 2 days ago, dumpster was delivered there, forklift there, and the contractor had his roofers as of 8:30, 9 o'clock this morning on the job site. They're starting to remove the existing shingles and exposing the plywood decking that's there and looking for any type of damaged decking. It's a little slower process, but they have started. In regards to the Labradorville Primary School, spoke to the contractor today, which is Roofing Solutions. Mr. Butch said that materials are at their warehouse and is ready to be delivered. Had a conversation with Mr. Dwayne and Mr. Barthélemy as in regards to when we had a pre-construction meeting, it was determined to maybe try to hold that particular job off as far as site, placing materials on the site, not to be a distraction during school. Being with the storm, a little further roof damage occurred, and so we're looking at maybe trying to move up that project as far as timeline-wise, and seeing if we can maybe start transporting materials, maybe have it at the Labradorville Middle School and have them transport materials as needed to there, or we would at least like to set up a meeting with maybe Mr. Dwayne and the principal at the Labradorville Primary School to see as far as material placement and trying to be at the least distraction as possible during construction time before the Thanksgiving break. So that's kind of where we at with those two particular jobs. Somewhat, yes, because we had a pre-construction meeting, this was 4 to 5 weeks ago, which was the week or whatever before Ida. And they had put in the order at that particular time when they had the go-ahead, the go-ahead and notice to proceed, go ahead and get your order in. And they told us at that time it was going to be 4 weeks. And it was basically 4 weeks to get some shingles on a particular job site. So, and now it's just slowing further back. But he does have, like I said, he does have his material on site for the Labradorville Primary also. So, like I said, he kind of beat the, I guess, the mad rush for shingles. So, like I said, it's there, but. Yeah, yes, sir. About 25, 30%. Yeah, yes, sir. Across the board, from concrete to shingles, everything. Yes, sir. So our office had conversations with Superintendent Mr. Shannon Claymore, Mr. Dwayne Oquin, in regards to revisiting and looking at the two-story building that we were proposing to do a patch and repair stucco system to the building. After looking at it in prices and procedures of what would have to take place and what would still be left existing, we reran numbers and we proposing a new cost estimate that I placed at each person's desk. Yes, sir, that one there. And what that consists of is a new brick veneer option instead of a stucco option, right? The original stucco option that we done probably about 2-3 years ago was basically just to go in, remove some of the bad areas and repatch or whatever. And that estimate was somewhere around the $107,000 in that. And then we revisited it and looked at it, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't just repatch. Let's go ahead and scrape the whole system off and go back with a new plaster stucco system, like basically a 3-ply system. Ran those numbers and started looking at maybe replacing conduits and things that you can tell that would need to be addressed, because if you're going to take everything off the walls, you might have to readdress some other items in regards to that. And I think, like I said, if we go back into the files and look, but that number was somewhere around 220, 225 at that point. But that was removing all the system, getting back to the basically plywood decking and Tyvek wrapping it back and putting in a new plaster system. So, no, sir. No, sir. Yeah. Yeah.
They were just gonna cover everything back up again.
Right.
Because we had rock wood up in there, and would not change for $220,000.
Correct. It's you're 210 feet long and you're 21 feet or 22 and a half feet high from ground to eave height. So if you're looking at both sides, you basically, you're 8,000 square feet of wall surface. Not counting the actual windows and the doors, just the actual wall. Meaning, yeah, all right, okay. Okay, so but also in that price, if you look at one of the items, it's replacing all of the HVAC systems that are connected in the building, has ductwork from the outside unit going into the inside unit. And those systems are every bit of 30 years old or plus, okay? So if you look at the overall number, we have like 120,000 into replacing all of the air conditioning units, which is 12 units involved into this number. That would basically, you save on energy costs, all the conduits and copper work and all that would not be on the outside of the building anymore. It will be inlaid inside of the brick wall itself, or the cavity that we will be creating when we're going to put the brick veneer up along the wall. So none of that would be ever exposed again. So that, that cuts down on a lot of maintenance, a lot of issues in regards to having the maintenance department address these yearly. Ductwork would all be redone also, because that's an issue now that you would have to address that pretty soon. If you decide not to move on with this, you still would have to address some of the HVAC issues at that coming soon. So if you go with the brick in regards to the stucco, as far as cost-wise or whatever, you still have maintenance involved with a stucco system, as far as, pressure washing, the cracking in the system, because you're going to have maybe about a 15 to 20 year life on a stucco 2-story wall system. If you go brick, it's pretty much lifetime. And it's just basically just washing off the building. And like I said, you're addressing all of the exterior conduits, everything in that, and like I said, energy cost wise. Those units out there now, they're like, okay. Right, okay, I understand. Yeah, you're right. Mhm. Right. I'm gonna say from the
Ooh.
1960s.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's been. Right. Yeah, right.
So that too, Ms. Doc, and when you think about it, you look at the whole bill, you look at the ninth grade academy, it's all brick, right? When you look over there at this building over here, you look at it, it's stucco, and then. Really, yeah, but at least you would make them look more uniform like each other. Well, of course, yes, it is.
Britt, talk a, talk a little bit about the cleaning of the outside building, because right now, we want to make sure that we provide a product that actually could be cleaned real easily.
Right.
And also I want to make sure that as far as longevity and durability is concerned as well.
Right. So that's why we kind of proposed the actual brick issue, because we looked at all three, a metal wall system, a brick wall system, a stucco system. And what we find as far as in, school systems or open air systems or whatever like that, that your maintenance is going to be way more involved. It's not just hitting it with a pressure washer or whatever. It's as far as stucco or the plaster system around the windows or whatever, everything shrinks, expands, shrinks, expands, shrinks, expands. So within, your 2-3 year period, you're gonna have to keep going back and readdressing all the maintenance issues, and just not that, just cleaning the actual, it builds the mildew more. It is more time involved as in regards to just, Joe Max and a water hose on an actual brick wall. Any other thing I would need to address, or?
Whatever the board wants.
So if like I say, Joseph and I was talking, and if you looked at or if you think about the actual second stucco proposal that we looked at, I think this was in early or mid 2020 last year. And I said it was somewhere around 220, 225 in that area. If you take the HVAC units out of the actual project, right? And you basically, you're adding an additional 200,000, which I know it's not a small amount, but you're getting a finished product that is a lifetime, that you're never gonna have to go back and address the actual brick again for your additional 200,000. That's just one angle or whatever to say, food for thought type of thing.
What about the leaks and everything?
Leaks.
Yeah.
Right. So there's, I'm sure as y'all aware of, there's existing conditions there now that would need to be addressed either way, right? So again, if we were exposed or just go back with the replastering of what's there now or whatever, you're not really addressing the inside or the the damaged or the mildew or whatever that's within the actual wall. But when you're going to pull it all off and you'll be able to address the leaking issues and all that, being that we have it off, that's why we gave an option of, okay, if we have the whole system off and we addressing mildew and we addressing leaks, let's give them an option of go back and put a once in a lifetime type product back on, which would be your brick wall. Yes, yes, ma'am. Well, we haven't pulled apart, but there's bubbling. Right. No, ma'am. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Right. It's just, the plaster and everything is bubbling and starting to flake off. And you can see there's wet wood in certain spots. Now, again, there's Tyvek and all that that's protecting the inside of the classroom or whatever. But we're talking about the exterior skin of the actual building is what's taking place. Thank y'all. Y'all have a good evening.
Hey, y'all. Okay, just want to remind everybody from 1995 till this very day, I've been a part of the school system. Okay? And before a hurricane even happened, the very last job I had before I left to defend my children, there's a leak in Napoleonville Primary's library. And the directions to the custodians, which I've always been the closest to, were to wipe it when it rains and it's mold, and if it's bad enough, paint over it. Okay? You got mold places. You worried about stucco? What is this, Sugar Ridge? The grievances I had, I expected resistance, but her grievance was not addressed either. You go to usnews.com under education, under district, and under assumption. They have three amounts: instruction, 6 million; support, 5 million; other, $760.7 million. Over $11,000 in revenue per student, and y'all report 13,000 in expenses. And I say y'all as in the district, because I was told that's the government reports that. Yes, the district reports to the government, and then the government puts that out there. Okay? What are we spending 13,000 on an individual student? Because I do not see that. I did not see that as a student. I did not see that as an employee. And I did not see that as a parent. And going back to what special education lady, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. It's Margaret, I believe her name is. To answer your question, Ms. Dugas, why that doesn't follow them or why it's so hard to get to, for 7 years straight, I tried to get my child with a diagnosis in IEP, and they said she was too smart. And for 7 years, they denied her. And when I had to uproot my kids, for reasons I won't discuss right now, she was still considered a regular ed student. And my son, the same thing. So to answer your question blatantly, they don't want to put in the work because they had everything they needed. And like I've told the administrators, I have outsourced my everything on the outside of school, and I have asked from the inside. I have previous counselors that can vouch for how much I've asked for an IEP for my child and counseling. Since social emotional things was under the, principals thing, because that happens. Let's see. Sorry, y'all. So my question is, what? Uh, B. I mean 8. Sorry, 8. Comments and announcements. I addressed the man with the stucco. Yes, I addressed comments and announcements. And but yeah, so I did expect resistance from y'all for who I am and what I've been standing for. And I did expect eventually to see a cop in the corner, which I guess I'm calm today. But my last comment though is I've spoken with you, 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 you. I met you today. Sir, get out, please, before you get caught up in the mess. And I have no help from y'all. Y'all never even introduced yourselves to me. So as far as what's up here right now, we need better. We deserve better, and definitely the children do, because you don't understand. You don't even know an IEP follows a child.